So we're coming up to RUOK Day. I just thought we'd take the opportunity to talk about the power of a conversation. Okay, where we've either been there to have that conversation with somebody when they needed it, or when somebody's had that conversation with us because we needed it. We know that there's a lot more power in a conversation with a friend, because you know, or you can tell when something's not right. If you've got a mate or a friend out there that's struggling, you're going to know before anybody else. So let's talk about that.
Like, what do you boys say are like indicators of someone that isn't okay, or like one of your mates? If your mate rocks up to school, what would you say is the first thing you notice if he's just acting funny and you need to check up on him?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the person, because if your mate if they're normally like kind of quiet and sitting down and they start cracking jokes and they're a bit like faking the energy, like putting on extra like to kind of seem normal, that's a bit of that could be a red flag, but it also could just be like they just woke up on the right side of the bed and they just want to be happier that day or something. But it's all dependent on the person, because like if someone's normally bubbly and happy and then they sit down by themselves, even though they're at the group, if they're not present in the conversation, they could just be, not having a good day, or you might need to ask them, are you okay? Or another question that's not straight to like as blunt as are you okay?
We now live in a society that is supposedly the most connected in history. I've said this story before, but my first mobile phone was this big, okay, and it was when I was 30. The only contact we had with other people was one telephone line and in the house. So you've got mobile phones, you've got computers, you've got Snapchat, you've got Instagram. How do you know on social media? Like, how do you know with someone that you might be chatting to virtually?
I guess it's the same as like if they're coming to school, if it's out of the ordinary. Because I know a few of my mates post their whole life on a Snapchat or whatever, and like me, I don't post anything. But then as soon as they kind of switches, like some people that don't post anything, they start posting stuff. And it's like they could just be like wanting to post stuff, but it kind of, you need to kind of know what's happened in their life before they started posting everything. Because I know like a few of my mates, if they like break up with someone, they start posting a lot of stuff about like how they're all happy and all their lives, all that like is better after they've left that person. But really, if you know, like for me, like I know my mate, and they're not that, but that's just to kind of like put the image out there that they're okay, that they can still like get out there and have fun, but really like they might not be happy on the inside, kind of thing. But, and I guess it's the same, whereas if someone posts a lot and they just kind of pull back and stop putting themselves, like if they're used to being public and all that, like in a way, and they stop, it's kind of like, well, something might be up, or they just might be taking a break from social media.
So those that are loud in the playground can also be loud on social media.
Yeah, or it might be switched. Some people might not be comfortable like in a social area, but they might just be like keyboard warriors, or like not in that negative way, but like they might just like love like doing stuff, like posting about it, that they don't have to be in front of other people to do it.
So the message we're getting is that it's different, right? You're looking for something that's different.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. How do you have that conversation?
Well, first, I think the best way to attack it is more just start off like a normal conversation, like just to make sure like they're comfortable and you're comfortable, like everyday like conversations you have with that person. And then like whilst you go on, maybe just hint just about like how's their day been, how's their family, how's their friends, and then eventually just check if they are okay. That's my opinion on the best way to attack that stuff.
What about you fellas? Have you ever had to have that conversation?
I've had an experience with one of my mates. He was, played rugby together and everything like that. He was going alright, and then he sort of started, he wanted to get, he wanted that social life, he wanted to go to parties and stuff like that. And that was unusual for someone like himself. And he, started, well, I didn't notice at the time, but I noticed that and I asked him, and he actually, started, just pouring out. Told me that, he'd been drinking for weeks on end, and just, it got to a point where he just started crying. It's very, very unusual for him, but it's just, I wasn't even asking like, are you okay? I just saw him, and he asked me how I was, and then I asked him the same thing. I was like, oh, hey, how's your day going? He just, he went.
How was that for you?
It was hard. Like, I think I was a bit selfish at first. I was like, in my mind, I was like, I didn't, just started the day, didn't really expect this, just don't really want anything on my shoulders at this point in time. And then he, after the conversation, I think I just realised that it's not really about myself.
You raised a really good point there, in that it is tough and it is a personal thing. Like, do you really want to take somebody else's burden on? The fear of a conversation. Is there that fear? What are you going to hear?
Yes.
If you ask that question, are you okay? And they go, no, I'm not.
Yeah, I think there's probably is a bit of fear to it, just like how you're going to respond. Like, especially, if they say something that's like really personal, and maybe you're not even, like, you're not good mates with that person, but you just get along with them, and then he puts all this personal, like, issues that he has and tells you about it. It's just probably the fear is how you're going to respond to that.
All right, we have the conversation with our friend, or somebody has a conversation with us, and we say, are you okay? No, I'm not. How do you help? Apart from that power of the conversation, which we've already talked about, Matt, that had an impact, how do you help? What do you do?
I think one is just keep checking up on him regularly after that.
Yep.
Just to make sure it's not getting worse, and then it's actually getting better. Or after, if it's like a big problem, like a really personal issue, I'm saying, go ask him first. Just go like, is it alright if we go and I'll like take you to someone that can help, like a counsellor or something, to like ask permission first. But if it's really personal and he says no, and it's like, for him, it's better to go see someone, go to like a counsellor, even at the school or privately, and go say, can you make a meeting with him or go check up on him because he's not alright.
Good. Yeah, it is about actually doing something about it, isn't it? I mean, the conversation is very, very powerful. It can often give them someone to talk to and give them someone to release that stress, but it's not all on your shoulders. Asking if they're okay just doesn't sit with just that, does it? If they're not okay, then you've got to encourage them to go and do something about it, or you go and see somebody and you go and ask, because there are people out there that can help. From what we've been talking about, there's been everybody in this room has at some stage gone, for want of a better phrase, are you okay? Yeah. How does that all make us all feel?
Probably it puts a bit of pride, like personally it puts a bit of pride into me, like just knowing my morals and my values, seeing like just helping someone else, it just like makes me happy and feel better about myself as well.
Yeah.
How do you think a conversation can be life-changing?
I saw this video and it was someone talking about they were going to go on the Golden Gate Bridge in the US and like commit suicide. And they said if someone smiled to me or asked me where I was going or like what I was doing at all, they were going to turn around and stop. And no one like did that. So no one like, obviously that person was relying on strangers who don't know him. And if you're in like anywhere, strangers, especially nowadays, you like avoid strangers, go where I'm going that way. Whereas, and then this dude lived because I think a cop just sat there and listened to him for 2 hours, and he didn't say a word, and you're just like, okay, I'm okay to come back now, because he was on the other side of the railing. He came back. So like the conversations that can change your life, you might not even have to say anything for it to change your life. So like, I feel like that's the how can it change your life. That's the extreme version of how it can change your life.
Because all these like life-changing conversations you'll have, there'll be a lot of pressure on you. It's not that easy to do it, and especially, well, not in that context, but like in our school context.
Yeah.
Like us, sorry to you boys, but like the prefects here, like the skipper and 2 prefects here, getting that blazer at the start of the year and getting elected from your from our cohort put a lot of pressure on you. Like, how'd that feel, getting that blazer? Like, did you have to change, like, at all? Like, more to you, Liam, but like, did you have to change your ways from your year 7 to 10, or year 7 to 11, or is it more just being yourself? And how'd that pressure like affect you?
Like at the start of the year, obviously, like there's like this whole new responsibility that I've never been like put under before. Like it's a whole new situation. Obviously, like I'm the school captain of like 2,000 people. So like obviously I've got to be. I felt like I had to be like a role model and someone that everyone look up to. And I feel like I sort of lost like who I was a little bit, like trying to be someone who I wasn't really. Like going like trying to be like an influence to like all the younger boys and stuff. And like throughout the year I've sort of like learned that it's more about being myself more so than like being someone who I'm not, and that's like more important. So I feel that's what I've learned.
Because like personally, like my role, the engagement and well-being, when I first got that, I thought I had to like play that role and fit that role. Like it was like kind of like it was like a job.
100%.
So like you're a doctor, so you can't be like, you have to be a doctor and help people.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought I had to do. So thank you. It took a while to get that. We can cut that one, but so I just thought I had to fit that role and change my personality to just like help people. So first term, checking up on everyone, like that's still good and stuff, but
Yeah.
I'm not the guy that every second making sure everyone's okay, like bringing peace, like every second, like that's all good and stuff, and I feel like after like probably that first term, I kind of got comfortable. I was like, I'm not going to try and change who I am just to fit a role. Like, I'm still going to do my job and like what I'm supposed to do, but just more as me, as Matt, not as someone who I'm not.
Yeah. So I don't know about you two, but it was like after like say a term or two that I realized that it wasn't like us pretending to be that person in that role that was the reason why we got selected in that position. It was because of the people, like we were put in that role because of the people we were before like this year. So it's like we didn't need to change because like people believed in us that we would be suited for that position because of the people we actually were from 7 through to 11. So there's no need to change.
Like for me, spirit of school pride, the spirit element kind of, because of Corona, just wasn't there term 2. So like term 1 was all like spirit of school pride 100%, like I'm fully committed. Term 4 was like, oh, you were committed, or term 2, sorry, you're committed, that's not happening anymore, don't worry about it. And it was kind of the term 2 where we were at home for a fair bit of time, and then at school was kind of, I was wondering like why did I even get the blazer, like get the job, the position, because I wasn't doing anything, because I was just focused on the spirit aspect of it. But the other bit is school pride. So for me, realizing that it's not just the one thing I had to do, it was the whole, like Liam said, we were picked we were elected because of the people we already were, not who we could be. Like there's an element of that, but they saw that we were already the ones that fit the mold to do the job or do the position or whatever. And realizing that the spirit's gone, but like the spirit in school's still there, but the sporting events, all that was kind of like the spirit rallies, all that was kind of gone. You still got the school pride, you still got being the leader, being the role model that all the kids, like not all the kids, like some of the kids look up to, or some of the younger students. It's like realizing that it's not, and like Matt said, going from like doing everything in term 1 to realizing that's not what the actual job is. The actual job is being me and doing what I should, like what I used to do, but with just a little bit more added onto it. And the next week you might add a little bit more on, Because I think what you did and what I did is we went from 0 to 100 straight away. And that was a bit weird for me as well, because it wasn't something I was used to.
And to like deal with that, all this like type of pressure, do you think the school's done enough or got enough to help with like all the boys and all their pressures, and if they're alright? Do you think the school's got enough or done enough to help that, or do you think we're lacking a bit?
What do you reckon, man?
Oh, I think
You got the answer.
I'm the MC.
MC, I'm MC.
Nah, we're
Do you feel pressure now?
No, I think we've got enough. Like, obviously, yeah, like we got a good bunch of counsellors. Well, I think they're doing a good job. Yeah, Firman's alright. Miss Smith. Sorry to other counsellors, I don't know their names. And like the group, the 5, what are they called? The 5 teachers that you can go see, like Mr. Butterworth, Mr. Sharkey, Miss Martin, child protection officers. They're the ones. Yeah. Miss Martin, Miss Smith, Mr. Firman, Mr. Sharkey, and Butters. I think we got a good system going. That because we got personally, I think Laurence, we got like a really good community. Like we got just good culture, good vibe. Like I feel that a lot of students are just comfortable going up to asking a teacher, because a lot of schools, like I know that they don't have that like obviously teacher-student, like teachers learn and then teachers teach and the students learn, but it's more like a family really. Like I feel like we can just go up to any teacher and just have a conversation with them, like a responsible conversation.
Culture.
Yeah, a good culture to it.
Yeah.
And I feel like we just feel like students feel that we can just be open to the teachers. Like they're not going to judge us, or they're not going to tell someone that we don't want to know. So personally, I think the school's in a good spot right now.
Yeah.
I feel like we've got what we need.
For me, when I started at Laurie's in grade 5 or 6, my parents split up, and then that's like I was like loving school and all that, and then they split up, and it kind of like changed a bit for me at school. And then I think either one of my parents noticed it or one of my teachers noticed it or something, and then I started talking to Counsellor. I was talking to Miss Martin, and the way that she like we worked together to like get me through like parents splitting up and like enjoying school again, because before that I was loving school. Like yeah, every day is a good day. Like grade 5, like Mondays like maybe HP, Tuesdays like music or something, like Thursdays pizza day. I'm loving school.
Yeah.
Grade 5 was easy.
Yeah.
and then as soon as it's like 2-3 months of it, just like kind of like everything I loved about the school, I was just kind of like, nah, I don't really enjoy this anymore. And then like I was talking like Miss Martin, one of the counsellors, and everything it took a few I don't know how many sessions ago, a long time ago. It felt like nowadays it felt like 2-3 months, and everything like flipped, and I was loving it again. So that just is like an credit to the skill of our counsellors, that they can, if you've got a problem, it might not be as simple as here's your solution, go do it. They'll work with you. Like the way Mr. said, she might talk to someone and not get anywhere, and not get anywhere again and again and again and again. That's still building up how like to get to the solution to fix the problem. Because for me, when I was talking to Miss Martin, I remember there was a few sessions where I was like, well, that was pointless, like what did we do that for? But it's all part of the journey to get to the end. And it's like, yeah, the end's the goal, but the journey is where you learn. And that's like in school, like yeah, like for us 3, we're graduating in like 2 months. But like yeah, graduation's cool, but we've had 7 years at Laurie's, like 5-7 years at Laurie's. That's what we're gonna remember more than
one night.
We're gonna remember graduation night, because graduation. Yeah. But that's not that's special, but it's not as special as everything we've
all the memories.
Yeah, so I think that's like the counsellors and even like the child protection officers, like that we had another thing in grade 5 where my whole friendship group, we sat down with Mr. Sharkey, and because there was just not like, we were all friends but we just weren't like functioning properly for like friends. I don't know, it was a bit weird for grade 5 and so they were like, we were all like kind of having fights constantly in the group, but we were friends with each other, but as a whole we couldn't like be together. And we sat down and we sorted out with Mr. Sharkey, and I think one of the counsellors came up, I don't know who it was, and then just straight away, like from then everything switched. Like that for that instance, it was just the one session. But then for me, when my parents split up, that was the whole, like, it felt like 2-3 months, maybe a term of building to the end. And then once I reached the end, I didn't know it was the end at the time. But looking back, hindsight vision is 2020. Reaching the end.
Favorite saying, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty cool, considering it's 2020.
Still quote.
Yeah, reaching the end, it was like, well, that whole thing that I just went through was beneficial. So I feel like the school can, even if it's not a counsellor, even if it's a teacher, they can still kind of keep on checking back on you, and making sure that you're slowly building to the end.
I mean, you guys have both mentioned teachers and counsellors, but even though we've sort of like, for like primary, we've got like peer mentors. So like, usually in primary you only have like the one teacher and the specialist teachers.
Yeah.
So for most of them, they're probably thinking, I'm not going to go talk to him about it because I'm with him for the rest of, or with him or her for the rest of like the school year. And so having the peer mentors there, who are like trained by the counsellors, it's just giving them another person to talk to, like another group of people to talk to. So yeah, even that's good.
Yeah, someone that they look up to as well, someone that they feel like they can talk to.
Yeah, I still talk to a few of the boys I was a peer mentor with this year. But like, for me, when I was doing peer mentoring, it kind of felt like a waste because no one came up to me to ask for help or anything. But they might not have needed that, looking back at it, because like after year 11 ended, I was like, well, I didn't really do much as a peer mentor. I was just kind of there and did the things, but I didn't build that connection with someone. But that might not have been what they needed, kind of thing. They might have just needed someone to look up to, be like, okay, well, they've been through this. It's got to end somewhere. So maybe that's what it was. So that's, looking back at it, that's what helped me kind of come to terms with me not really doing much as a peer mentor. And then talking to the boys now, like there's like 3 or 4 of them that I still talk to, and we still like kind of have little like chats over here and there. It kind of makes it worth it. Well, it was worth it the whole time, but it makes it more, like, have more, like, I don't know what's the word, more substance. It's the wrong word.
Yeah. The power of conversation, you know, what does that mean to you?
When you start with the power of conversation.
Power conversation. I don't know. It's just what you can give to someone else. It's literally it for me. Like it says, change your life, change your life. And you might not necessarily, changing a life. You don't have to. It shouldn't cost you an arm or leg all the time. You know what I mean? It's little things. Change people's lives, and I think, like, just going into it a little bit, experience that myself. Like, teachers, like Mr. Sheen, he's real like a
open,
he's
welcoming person.
Like like he said before, like he stays in the fight. Teachers like him, there's plenty, but I think teachers like that and people like that help me sort of grasp that concept a bit better.
Maybe just key message is that you're not alone. Like, you can reach out to people if you need, and even just check on your mates, like the close mates that you're boys with, you're all good with. But if they're just acting different, just check up on them, even if it's nothing. Maybe they're just woke up on the wrong side of the bed or something. Just check on them anyway, because you never know. And you're not necessarily going to change a life, like you're not going to flip it upside down.
But you'll have an impact.
Yeah, you'll have an impact, no matter how big or small it is, really. Oh, too easy, lads. Thank you for joining us. MC